Welcome back. My next guest today is Clemens Jargon from Mycronic. Welcome, Clemens. Nice to see you.
Hi, Trevor. Nice to see you.
Yeah. So, of course, you're making the big news this week with the recent acquisition of MRSI. That's one of a string of acquisitions you've made in the last year, 18 months. Let's talk about some of the ones that you've done, first of all, about in the last 18 months ago. Starting off with Axon, which was a major acquisition in China. Has that started to bear fruit, and what have you managed to bring out of that acquisition?
Yeah, Trevor, thanks for this question. So at Assembly Solutions at Micronic, we basically divide the business in three segments and three divisions, which is the classical SMT business, where Micronic has grown, the dispensing area, and as well then the automation, assembly automation, which belongs to the recent acquisition which you mentioned, which was MRSI. So the Axon acquisition is now about 2 years ago, and this was for us a major step forward, really, to get a good footprint in the dispensing and conformal coating market. You may know that we have done already jet printing and dispensing on high speed with our My700, the jet printer, which is unreached by anybody. But for the broad variety of dispensing applications, we needed the competence and we needed the broad portfolio from Axon, which we have added here, and so therefore we are now able to address almost all applications in dispensing.
Right. Well, one of the strengths of dispensing companies, or the strength of dispensing companies, is really in their valve portfolio, and you know, that was one of the things you got with Axon. They had a really strong valve portfolio.
Yes, you're true. I think on one end you have to have a very strong motion control platform, but you have to have a very broad and strong valve portfolio, because applications are so different, and every customer has different perspectives and also different ways of depositing material on its electronic components, on its electronic applications. And with our broad valve portfolio, which is an in-house developed portfolio, we can address almost everything.
Right.
If it's auger valves, needle valves, or piezo valves, anything for any media to be deposited.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how that feeds into, as you say, your My700 dispensers as well, your jet dispensers, because there was a discussion yesterday around stencils and how really going forward, I think that is going to be the platform of the future. Exactly.
So we have a high-speed machine with our My700, and whenever high speed matters, when you want to, for example, in solder paste jetting, want to replace stencils, you can do this with My700.
Right.
When you want to do high-speed glue, SMA, you would to do the My700. When speed doesn't matter, and the dispensing process is more complex, that you also have to move in Z-axis, then you would go for our Axon dispensing portfolio.
Right. But I think the trend in the industry is for smaller job lots with more customization, so you're going to need faster turnover and faster product, and you won't want to wait a day or two for a stencil and that type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a strong trend, and 0105 is already now a given challenge for all of us. Yeah. And also designs in electronic boards is getting more and more complex. You would need to work with step stencils, and this is always difficult, and it always ties you in design rules. Yeah, with the jet printer going into small dots to 210 micron or below, you can forget about design rules and make boards even smarter. You don't need step stencils, which makes the life of the DFM guys easier and also the operation guys easier.
Right. Okay, so let's move on to the next acquisition you made, which was VI Technology. Yeah. The SPI, I mean, a very well-engineered system, actually. What has that brought to you?
Yeah, so in fact, though, when we entered very early, now almost 2 decades ago, the pick and place market, it was a machine business, but now it's a solution business.
Yes.
And therefore you need to be able to offer solutions, and you need to combine your device in your portfolio. When you look now into Micronics offering in the SMT area, we have now the jet printer, we have the SPI, we have the pick and place, and we have the 3D AOI. Combine this with the towers in material handling, now we can offer really a complete line solution. And this gives much better opportunities than we had before. So the SPI works together with the jet printer, the AOI works together with the pick and place. The overall system is linked via the Sigma link, so that means we can help our customers even more to go for zero defects in the line, to control the process and control the data which you generate during the production process.
Right. Yeah. Very important, of course. Everything's getting data-driven these days.
Exactly.
So, bringing us up to today, MRSI. It's your most recent acquisition announced only last week. They're big in the die bonding side. Now, that's taking you more towards the advanced packaging route. Can you explain the strategy behind that acquisition?
Yeah. This is a bit a different area. So we call this division assembly automation, and we would like to expand our portfolio into areas which are niches, but they're also with a huge growth potential. And we want to combine this with our strengths. So one of the strengths and DNAs of Mycronic is high flexibility, high precision. And when you compare this with the AI acquisition, which we have done a year ago for camera module assembly, and now MRSI, this is a niche with a huge growth potential, and that's the reason why we have invested here.
Into that, that's great. So, I'm sure you're not finished yet. What's on your shopping list?
Sometimes opportunities come across, you have to pick them. Sometimes you need to focus on consolidation, on doing things right. And we are not a company who is always going around shopping. We're a company who want to focus on strengths, focus on DNA, strengthen the company, and be there when there is a potential to increase the value of the company and to bring some interesting technologies. So I wouldn't say that there's a shopping list we're working on from top to below. So MRSI is something which is a very strong additional part of Mycronic now. It has a very healthy home market in optical communication, which is about 70% of the revenue. Here, big data is a big trend. We want to join that trend. We want to help that trend here. And that's one of the reasons why we invested here, not because it's a part of a shopping list.
I was maybe oversimplifying it, but obviously you're trying to round out that portfolio so that you have all the parts to help offer these solutions that you referred to earlier. So there must be some parts that you're still looking for, I was guessing. But anyway, Clemens, I want to thank you for joining us today and for giving us an update on the strategy with Mycronic.